Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the West Coast Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Frias Guzman, and I will be talking about today's episode. I will be talking about the Los Angeles Dodgers mainly, as they just had a series that got started with the Oakland Athletics, came away with a nice victory, 7-3. Lance Lynn, newly acquired from the White Sox, ended up coming away with his first victory as a Dodger. We got to see a little bit of him, so we'll talk all about that. We'll talk all about what's kind of changed with the Dodgers as of late, some of the new players that they've acquired, how things are kind of shaping up for the second half of the season now that the All-Star break is over as well. We will also be talking about the Lakers, the Dodgers, of course, and the Raiders. As for the Lakers and the Raiders, there's not a whole lot of stuff that goes on in the offseason, mainly just newly acquired players, moves that go on in the league, and so on and so forth. If you're a fantasy league kind of guy, maybe you're getting everything ready for that. All kinds of things going on when it comes down to the world of sports, but maybe not huge news, if you would, now that now that the only thing going on is baseball. But we'll talk all about that on today's episode. I am recording this on an early Wednesday morning. It is August 2nd, 2023. This would be episode 146, so hope you guys enjoy it. So with that being said, though, guys, just get right into the podcast, or just before I actually get into it here, I do want to remind everybody that you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter. It's going to be the same handle, West Coast Pod 702, West Coast Pod 702. Definitely going to drop me a follow, and if you have the time, I'm definitely going to check out my wife's page. She's actually going to be doing some for her baptism that we're actually going to be godparents in. She is going to be making these amazing chip bags. They're like Ariel theme or Little Mermaid themed. So definitely go and check them out. And if you haven't done so, you got to go and check out this page. It's called Rosie's Designs EST 2022. Definitely go and check them out, and I guarantee you won't be disappointed. So let's get right into the podcast if you guys are down. Just before, I have a quick little announcement for everybody who has been following the podcast. One, thank you very much. And for those of you who continue to listen to it, thank you again. But I did take some time off to go on recording and everything. Of course, I actually had a change in where I live. For the longest, for those of you guys who know, family, friends, I've been living with my in-laws for the longest. Maybe that sounds bad, not the longest, but I have been living with my in-laws for a while now. Felt great to go ahead and have my own place with my beautiful wife, Rosa. We have, it's all an adjustment period and everything, but we have finally kind of settled in and everything, kind of got everything out of the way. For the most part, got all the stuff kind of settled in and in their place. So for those of you who have moved to a new place on your own or something like that, you definitely know what I'm kind of going through. But thank you for every single one of you who continue to listen and who have listened in the past. Hopefully you continue to listen. But with that being said, that way so we can stop talking about all this happy stuff and everything, let's go right into the podcast here. So talking about the Dodgers, or talking actually about the Lakers, I wanted to end with the Dodgers on this one. So talking about the Lakers here, guys, they have had quite a bit of moves going on because of the offseason. As you guys can tell, this roster is different, but it's not a whole lot different from the main core. A lot of people tend to think that, Troy Brown, Lonnie Walker, yes, these guys got big minutes during the regular season. But let's be honest, during the regular season, it wasn't the same team that was playing the big minutes towards the end of the season, right? Towards the end of the season, you definitely saw that it was Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell. These were the guys getting the big bulk of the minutes. It wasn't so much, Troy Brown Jr. It wasn't so much being, Lonnie Walker and a couple of these other players. Even Dennis Schroeder, you got to see, he was playing big minutes and everything, but he wasn't the biggest contributor to the team. A lot of people tend to kind of think that maybe Gabe Vincent was the replacement for Dennis Schroeder. And I guess you can say so. I mean, they play totally different styles of play and everything. But when it comes down to it, I really think that you kind of got the pieces that you really need in a team like this. When it comes down to Austin Reeves, I don't think we really had a ball dominant point guard like that. Maybe since Nick Van Exel, a guy who's, he's not. It's funny because he's not super quick like how Nick Van Exel was. And that me, that's a little bit just before I started really watching the Lakers, but from highlights, from previous knowledge from other people that I know that watch the Lakers, Nick Van Exel was a monster. He was very quick, very agile. Would love to attack the basket. He could finish with English, by being able to go in and have some nice little tricky moves to bounce it off the glass, create some contact. He was not afraid of that. And I see that a lot in Austin Reeves. Now, maybe he's not as fast as Nick Van Exel is, but you can definitely see that he has some burst of speed at times, when he needs it. But for the most part, he uses his advantage of being a bit of a bigger guard, similar to how Nick Van Exel would actually use his advantage of being a quicker guard than a lot of the other guards that were guarding him. But the other player that I would want to go ahead and kind of give a comp to is Gabe Vincent. I'm thinking that he's like our new Derek Fisher, if you would. He's not super tall. Derek Fisher was maybe my height, 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", around there. And he's a stocky dude. Came from Arkansas, stocky kind of a build. Dude was a fire hydrant. Like, nobody was gonna push him out of the way. Like, he was solid defensively, but he was also quick enough where he can actually guard some of these quicker point guards, and he can shoot the 3-ball. So I mean, I kind of see that same thing in Gabe Vincent. He's a small guy. He's a small guard, but he's really, really stocky, really, really strong. He always kind of plays with a chip on his shoulder. He is a great 3-point shooter. He can play defense. He's going to be your ultimate off-ball point guard. Something that LeBron has kind of always needed. Not that he can't play with a guy who's a ball-dominant guard, but it is something that would be nice to go in and see around LeBron and even Austin Reeves. If you have Austin Reeves and Gabe Vincent playing on the floor together, then you have a couple different players that you can shoot or sling the ball to or pass the ball over to and get a good shot opportunity. So not to go and talk too much about the Lakers here, guys. We'll talk all about the off season and who they ended up picking up and all that good stuff. Just kind of seeing like what the team overall kind of looks like, but in my honest opinion, after all the moves and everything that happened, I'm very, very excited for this team. I mean, between re-signing Austin Reeves, can't believe that they actually were able to get him for that much, because it sounded like there was some teams that were very interested in getting him, but he did a great job, and his management or agent, representation team, whatever you want to call them, did a great job by making sure that all these other teams knew that he wanted to sign with the Lakers, regardless of what kind of a deal he's going to get from these other teams. The only thing that would make it worse is that the Lakers would have had to, let go of a little bit more money because other teams were giving him qualified offers. But regardless of the fact, he ended up re-signing. He's a Laker again. He's going to be a Laker for a while. It's great to go in and see that he's going to be there for the future as well. You get to even see what the Lakers are kind of planning, even signing Rui Hachimura to a 3-year deal as well. Plus with I think it's like a 3+1, if you would. So seeing that Rui's a younger guy, you have a guy like Jackson Hayes that if he ends up performing very well, that could even be the future. A guy like Cam Reddish, if they figure out something with him that other teams haven't been able to figure out, that could be even our future. You have D'Lo, who, if he doesn't get, unfortunately, a lot of people are thinking that he might get traded this season, but who knows? If he doesn't get traded, that could be our future. You have Max Christie, who's only 20 years old. That could be our future. You have so many different avenues. Even with Anthony Davis, people tend to think, oh, Anthony Davis is getting ready to retire. No, dude, he's only my age, if I'm not mistaken. He was born 92, if I'm not mistaken, as well. He's only 30 years old. He's gonna be able to go and do more after this. I'm most likely thinking he's gonna sign this extension, which is on Friday that he can sign that extension. So we'll definitely keep an eye out to see when exactly that happens. It might not actually happen Friday, but we'll see. So there's all kinds of stuff going on with the Lakers, guys. Mainly, my main thing is I was super happy, super excited with how things worked out for the offseason for the Lakers. It really couldn't have gone any better. The only thing that maybe could make it better is getting a center. If we get another good solid center, have Jackson Hayes as the backup center. But the only thing is that really, really, really complicates things with the power forward position. Because then at that point, you're asking Rui Hachimura to maybe play more of the 3 whenever LeBron is not playing the 3. and if he plays the 4 whenever AD's not playing the 4, then that really doesn't allow a whole lot of minutes. That's maybe what, not, well, maybe it's quite a bit, but it's like 20 something minutes or something like that. But I don't know if they're actually going to give him all those minutes. Well, I guess we'll have to see, because then you even have where you're going to put Vanderbilt. You know, you can't put Vanderbilt out there. I mean, you can, but I don't know how exactly all that's going to work. You know, so I mean, if they get another center, how is it really going to work in the power forward position? Unless if you find some sort of way, you have to unfortunately get rid of one of them or trade one of them. You know, but regardless of the fact, we'll see exactly what happens with the Lakers. We'll have to go and see exactly how this roster kind of lines out. My honest opinion, that way, so you don't have to worry about, you know, promising certain playing time and everything. Why not try calling up Castleton, the guy who's gonna get the two-way deal? He played pretty well in summer league. He seems like he still has a lot of work to go in and do. But what better way to get to learn more than being in the pros, being up with the big guys, and learning? Maybe he's not gonna get a whole lot of playing time or anything like that, but he can learn a whole lot. I really think Max Christie being around the team last year ended up helping him out tremendously. But we'll see what happens when it comes down to all that, as we have to go in and just see what else happens in the offseason before they get going. But with that being said, we can jump right into talking about the Raiders, as they are in the middle of their offseason. Well, actually not in the middle. They're actually getting ready to start gearing up. They got training camp going on, all kinds of stuff like that. I think the Hall of Fame game is actually tomorrow. I think that's like the Jets and the Browns or something like that. As we had the Hall of Fame game last year. Definitely great experience when it comes down to it. I haven't experienced it myself, but great to always watch it and stuff like that. But we'll talk about the Raiders offseason on this one, if that sounds good to you guys. Now, the Raiders offseason, I feel like it's been mainly just circled around all kinds of negativity, in my honest opinion. Negativity when it comes down to Josh Jacobs, the fact that he still is holding out. It sounds like he's waiting to go in and see if there's maybe another contract out there that he's willing to go in and sign. Sounds like he's maybe had some meetings with other teams or something like that, but I don't know. We'll have to see. My honest opinion, I don't think another team's going to be willing to give him a lot more than that 10 mil enough, and I don't think any team's going to be willing to give him enough that's going to want him to stray away from being a Raider and accepting that 10 mil, even if another team's willing to give him a couple more million than what is offered on that 10 mil franchise tag. But who knows? Maybe some team out there is willing to be like, you know what, Josh Jacobs, yeah, we'll give you whatever amount of money it is that you need, or whatever it was that the Raiders were not willing to give you, we'll give you that. And that might persuade him. You know, that might persuade him in order to go in and go with another team. And if that is the case, it'll be definitely sad to see him go. You know, it'll be, because in my opinion, I think he, from based on what I've heard in the past, you know, Josh Jacobs has always mentioned that he would continue to be a Raider if he sees that the team is building around him or building a contender. And in some people's opinions, that's exactly what they've done. You know, maybe Jimmy G or Jimmy Garoppolo, he's maybe not the quarterback that you would want because of the whole injury situation, you know, the fact that he's a little bit injury prone or whatever the case is. But regardless of the fact, that's who you have. And regardless of the fact, you have some other playmakers. You have a guy like Davante Adams, like Jacoby Myers, who was a number 1 in New England, who's now your glorified number 2. You have a Hunter Renfrow. You have a guy who, in the tight end with Myers, who's going to be credible. I'm really thinking that this guy is going to be a really good tight end for us, you know, moving forward. I feel like he's like a best of both worlds kind of deal. But we'll see exactly what happens with this squad. I'm really thinking that it's going to come down to whether if a team's really going to be willing to give Josh that kind of money, which I don't think it's going to happen, especially because I can't remember if it was Saquon. I think it was Saquon Barkley. He ended up accepting an offer already, and it was way less than what everybody was thinking that he was going to hold out for. So when you have all these other running backs or other people in your same position accepting less, that's what other people are going to expect you to do as well. At least that's what I'm thinking is happening, but we'll see what happens. The other couple things that I did want to go ahead and just mention, I did mention a little bit about Jimmy G. And I gotta say, guys, some of the reports that I've been hearing, and it hurts me because I'm actually a Derek Carr fan. I'm a big time Derek Carr fan. He was my quarterback for so many years, being a Raider and so on and so forth. But in my honest opinion, and from what I've seen with Jimmy G, it's a little different. You get to see his demeanor is a little different. The way he approaches games is a little bit different. The way he commands a room, or the way he commands a huddle, the way everybody's on their P's and Q's out of a huddle. The way how, I don't know, it just seems like everything's so precise, if you would. Now, all I'm hoping for is, now this is all training camp and stuff and practices and whatnot. This can all change once, they hit once they actually get into playing up against another team or something like that, But we'll see what happens when it comes down to it. It's really just going to be a matter of waiting and seeing, honestly. Yeah. It's sad to kind of say that, but I'm really thinking that this year for the Raiders, it's really just going to come down to waiting and seeing if this team can actually live up to expectations, or at least give us something to be excited about, because God knows that we haven't been excited for too much in these past couple of years. So we'll see what happens when it comes down to the Raiders. I did want to get into talking about the Dodgers, as I did want to make them my main focus on this podcast for today, guys. So with that being said, Dodgers ended up coming away with the victory last night, going up against the Oakland Athletics. 7-3, I think the game. It was like 7-3. Lance Lynn, newly acquired from the White Sox, ended up coming away with a nice victory. Another player that we actually acquired from the White Sox, he actually pitched a couple days ago. Excuse me, I was trying to combine games and days there, but anyways. Joe Kelly ended up getting acquired as well from the White Sox, and he ended up actually pitching a couple days ago. Had a great welcome back from all the Dodger fans in Chavez Ravine. Being able to go ahead and have some of these players coming back, like Kike Hernandez, he ended up coming back. You got to see that the Dodgers always had a certain type of player, a guy who's fun in the clubhouse, who's gonna back up his boys no matter what. A guy who's all about the team, not about themselves, so to say. And it's kind of along the lines of what the reports have kind of been for the Raiders as well. Not to go in and jump back into the Raiders, but some of the reports coming from the Dodgers, from the Raiders over the offseason or during this season for the Dodgers has kind of been about, there's no divas in the locker room. There's nobody's trying to make it all about themselves, so to say. And you can start to look at the Raiders, you can start to look at the Dodgers and see what players are not there. And you can come up with your own assumptions, come up with your own guesses as to who those players are. Now, I'm not going to get all that into it, because that's a whole lot of assuming. It's a whole lot of, I don't even know what it's a whole lot of guessing. It's a whole lot of just pointing the finger and hoping, or throwing something up against the wall and hoping that it sticks. I'm not going to go ahead and do all that, especially because they're teams that I like and players that I have liked in the past. So I'm not going to do that. So with that being said, though, Dodgers are now with this victory, they're now 60-45, if I'm not mistaken. They're going to be either 3 or 3.5 games above the Giants at this point now. They're starting to build a lead. Hopefully they can continue to grow that lead up against the Giants, so that way they can solidify playoff berth pretty early. If they get home field advantage, if they try to go for a best record, whatever the case is, I don't give a damn. I don't want the same thing that happened last time to happen again. They had the best record, expecting them to win, and then boom, they flatline. I don't want any of that. I'd rather have them be rested up, ready to go. If that means that they have to go in and play a couple games so that way they can stay in focus and stay ready, then do so. Do whatever you have to do to make sure that they are ready to go for the postseason. That is the main thing that it's important. Get a playoff berth, get ready for the postseason, and make a deep playoff postseason run, please. This is a really good team that we have this year. I'm thinking it's damn well possible for us to be able to make it all the way. We just need a couple more players. It sounds like Walker Buehler's on his way back. He's starting the process on being able to go up against batters. So that's a good starting pitcher to go in and get back into the rotation. You know, it's just a matter of just being able to get everybody back healthy, get everybody ready to go. It's gonna take some time, of course, for everybody to do so, but we'll see exactly what happens when it comes down to the Dodgers. It's been an interesting season because they did start off, a lot of people would say, a little bit rocky, this and that, but I mean, seeing the production that we've gotten from some of these players that we acquired, like JD Martinez, who is plus 20 home runs at this point already. He's only I think like 4 home runs behind Mookie. Max Muncy's been playing incredible this year. You have players like Freddie Freeman, who's I think plus 320 in batting average right now. I mean, some of the players have been just playing out of their mind. I think it's really on the pitching side. Hopefully, if we get a couple things lined out there, a couple players back, and we even made some improvements on our bullpen. Even I think we just signed a guy from the Tampa Bay Rays, if I'm not mistaken. From the Royals. Excuse me. I think it was the Kansas City Royals. So being able to just get more players into the squad that could pan out. Being able to get more players that we can call up and being able to go in and get them to, improve the team, that's going to be the best thing that we can do. But we'll see what happens as the season goes on. I'm really thinking that this can definitely be a special season for the Dodgers, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We'll have to just kind of take it game by game and see what happens once we hit the postseason. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I did want to try to make this one a little bit shorter, but I kind of went on. I'll be talking to you guys most likely this week. Again, talking about the Lakers, talking about the Dodgers, kind of talking about the whole offseason for them. But we'll see what happens. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode again. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care. Peace.